Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting of the Lancaster County Council to order. I ask that the clerk note for the record that a quorum of council is present, that the public meeting notice of the meeting, including the meeting agenda, has been posted the required length of time in the lobby of the county administration building and on the county website, and that the news media was notified of the meeting time and place. I want to welcome you to your county council meeting. I would ask that you take a moment to turn off or place on vibrate any cell phones or pagers. Thank you for not wearing any hats or caps in the council chambers. And please be considerate of others in the room by refraining from conversations during the meeting. I ask that you stand and join council for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation given this evening by Council Member Steve Harper.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's pray. Oh, most heavenly gracious Father, let us remember here tonight men and the women of our armed forces who lost their lives serving our country to ensure our freedom, that we may be here tonight with a government for the people and by the people. And Lord, lead, guide, and direct us here in all the decisions that we make that will affect our county and the future of this county. In your precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Okay. I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
I have a motion from Mr. Griff. Mr. Griff, do we have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Mr. Luis. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. It's unanimous. Okay, we're going to move on to item 5, citizens' comments. We now come to citizens' comments. Please bear in mind that this is not a period of dialogue with council or a question and answer period. This is your opportunity to address council with your concerns. I ask that you address your remarks to council as a body and not to any individual council member. Please speak into the microphone, state your name and address for the record, and you will have up to 3 minutes to address council. Your time will not start until you have provided your name and address. First up is Dean Aldrich.
Dean Aldrich, G3 Engineering, 900 East North Street, Greenville, South Carolina. What I'm here for is basically to ask the council if we could defer the Old Hickory Road project to the July 25th meeting. During our Planning Commission meeting, they brought up a number of items we'd like to address with the council and also the staff, and we'd like to see if we could defer our meeting from tonight to the July 25th meeting. If you have any questions, we're here to answer them. That's it.
All right, thank you. Yates Dunaway.
Good evening, Council. Yates Dunaway, 319 Heathwood Road in Charlotte, North Carolina. No comments other than I'm here to answer any questions about item 8E if there are any. Thank you.
Barbara Scannell.
Barbara Scannell, 8016 Carolina Lakes Way, Indian Land, South Carolina. I am here today to address Council Chairman and members of the County Council. I just want to say that we support the concept of using a grant to help offset the cost of 521 widening, and we fully encourage you to do so. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Cheryl Hanhart Beck.
Cheryl Hanhart Beck, 13012 Teal Court in Indian Land. and I was here to address the Old Hickory Road. But in light of the fact that the developers asked for a continuation, I am thinking that I will wait to make comments until after they have come back with the answers to their questions.
All right, thank you. Okay. Ms. Merck DuPont, do we make a motion during?
When the matter comes up, we can handle it then.
Make
Yes,
it
sir.
then. Okay, thank you. All right, we're going to move on to item 7A, consent agenda. We have a motion to approve.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve consent agenda items 7A, 7B, and 7C.
Have a motion from Mr. Mosteller, second from Ms. McGriff. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. It's unanimous. Okay, now we move on to item 8A, Resolution 1294-R2025, a resolution establishing the local option sales tax credit factor for the 2025 tax year. Ms. Snowden.
I make a motion to approve.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Have a motion from Mr. Harper. Do we have a second? Second from Mr. Graham. Ms.
Okay.
Snowden.
Good evening, Chairman and members of council. So as you all know, the local option sales tax or lost credit is a 1% sales and use tax that Lancaster County has adopted to provide property tax relief. The credit factor is calculated annually based on revenue and property tax receipts the credit fund and the total assessed property values in the county. So the auditor reports good news that is approximately $8.9 million or nearly $9 million in the credit fund, and the credit factor has gone down, which is great. This is because of assessment, and so it means that that the rate is lower of how taxes will be assessed. And again, the formula is prescribed by the state, and so we're just asking that you actually approve the resolution.
Okay, is there any discussion? All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. It's unanimous. We're going to go to item 8B, Resolution 1295-R2025, a resolution supporting and authorizing Lancaster County's application to the South Carolina's Transportation Infrastructure Bank's Rural Project Program in pursuit of funding for the U.S. Highway 521 widening project. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion from Ms. McGriff, second from Mr. Luis. Mr. Cato.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, members of council, good to be here this evening. Again, this is just the administrator along with the Public Works Department and Project Management. We saw an opportunity for a grant that could assist with the US 521 widening, working with the Infrastructure Bank. This grant, very complicated, has a quick deadline on it, but the gist of it is if you were to receive this grant, that opens other doors for leverage to offset what we know is probably going to be pretty high price tag when 521 does come down. We checked around. We've been on numerous conference calls with RFATs and other agencies just to make sure that this grant wouldn't offset anything else we had planned coming down the pike. It seems to fall directly in line. One good positive thing about this is if we were to receive this grant, and again, we have chosen to apply for it. Deadline, I believe, is Friday, June 13th, so we're working very quickly on that. But if we were to receive it, some of the funding from Capital Sales 3 could be used as the match for that. So really, we're kind of shuffling around and really leveraging funds to the best advantage, obviously, for a great need for the county. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any questions?
I have a question. Jeff, how often is this type grant given out? Is it a yearly allocation?
That one just kind of creeped up on us. I don't know if it's yearly or not, but I can find out for you.
I just think it's great. Just hope we have a good chance of receiving it.
Yes, ma'am.
I think they have some new leadership behind the State Infrastructure Bank. One of the things they wanted to do was try to make the funds more available in smaller counties because typically the money's gone to a Greenville or Dorchester, Charleston County or York County. And so they've made some funds available for smaller counties. And
I noticed it said rural with a certain population, so I think that's great.
Any other questions? Okay, we have a motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Cato.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go on item 8C, public hearing and third reading of ordinance 2025-1964. An ordinance to authorize and approve the execution and delivery of a fee in lieu of tax and incentive agreement between Lancaster County, South Carolina, Atlas Copco Compressors, LLC, and SCP Acquisitions, LLC, providing for the payment of a fee in lieu of taxes and the provision of special source revenue credits, to express the intention of council to provide monies to the Economic Development Fund and to provide for other matters related thereto.
Mr. Chairman, we have a public hearing first.
Okay, I'll call us into public hearing. No one signed up for the public hearing, so I'll declare the public hearing closed.
And then,
Mr. Fulk.
can we get a motion on the,
Okay. We have a motion to approve third reading of ordinance 2025-1964.
So moved.
Mr. Luis made the motion. Second.
Second.
Second from Mr. Graham. All right. Now, Mr. Fulk.
Thank you. Good evening, council members. You have before you the third reading of ordinance 2025-1964 to authorize the execution and delivery of a fee in lieu of tax and incentive agreement. This agreement runs for 20 years. Project Janus, now Atlas Copco Compressors, LLC, is a subsidiary of the Atlas Copco Group, the parent in existence since the late 1800s. Atlas Copco is based in Stockholm, Sweden, has revenues of over $16 billion, and has over 50,000 employees worldwide. The state of South Carolina is supportive of this project, and we have worked closely with the Department of Commerce project manager, Tony Allen, on this for almost 1 year. The company plans a Lancaster County location to distribute its products. These products, air compressors and related products, are sold to commercial users. The project involves a consolidation and movement of existing sites in another location outside of South Carolina. The company plans to invest $51 million in the first phase and employ 163 people by the end of the 5-year investment period starting in 2025. The company will use its available cash for its investments. Average wages are expected to be around $32 per hour for the entire operation, with unskilled laborers making an estimated $22 per hour. The company benefits package is attractive, with the company offering medical, dental, vision to all full-time employees. Also, short and long-term disability coverage are available. Company representatives and engineers made a pre-presentation to the Technical Review Committee a few weeks ago, and this review continues. The structure of the negotiated fee in lieu of tax agreement contains a provision to measure performance as to investments and employees. In this agreement, any excess performance in one area, for example, more investment than committed to or more employees than committed to, will be used to counter or offset any performance failure in the other area. Evaluation of compliance with the contract minimum, $41 million in investment, shall be done at the end of the 5-year investment period. In the event the contract minimum is not satisfied or the jobs commitment not achieved, the special source revenue credit will be reduced retroactively. Again, the company commits in our agreement to a minimum investment of $41 million and 125 employees. In this agreement, council commits to provide special source revenue credits incentives equal to 50% for each of the first 10 years, followed by 25% for 5 years. This offer is consistent with prior large state-supported projects in Lancaster of this scope. So to summarize the benefits to Lancaster County and its constituents, in addition to this being a very good financial return for the county, the company will employ perhaps up to 50 new workers of the 163 thinking that some of these workers will not move to the county from their original location. And the company will pay significant property taxes over the life of the project, which should extend beyond 20 years, that will help lessen the tax burden for homeowners in the county. The Economic Development Department supports this project and requests an affirmative vote from council for this third reading. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Fulk? We have a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed, it's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to item 8D, second reading of ordinance number 2025-1968, an ordinance to amend ordinance number 2024-1910 relating to the appropriation of funds and the approval of a detailed budget for Lancaster County for the fiscal year beginning July the 1st, 2024, and ending June the 30th, 2025. To further provide for revenues and expenditures during the fiscal year and to provide for matters related thereto. This motion passed 7-0 at the May the 12th meeting. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Ms. McGriff and a second from Mr. Mosteller. Ms. Prabuzak.
Thank you, Mr. Carnes. Good evening, everyone. One note for the record, please. There was a Scrivener's error. It was a clerical typo in the title, which has now been corrected, and it reads as follows. This is an ordinance to amend the original ordinance, which is 2024-1910, relating to the appropriation of funds and the approval of a detailed budget for this fiscal year, beginning July 1 of 2024 to June 30th of 2025. And during the first reading, as Mr. Carnes mentioned, the vote passed unanimously to appropriate out of unassigned general fund balance the amount of $155,000, and that is to the Parks and Rec Department to fix the roof damage to the Springdale Recreation Center. And attached in your agenda, you have the assessment that was done by a third party. It includes pictures of the damage. The public hearing advertisement appeared in the Lancaster News for this past edition, Saturday, Sunday, May 24th and the 25th. And your public hearing and the third reading of the ordinance will take place on Monday, June 9th. The ask is for you to amend the current year budget to appropriate the $155,000 in unassigned general fund balance to the Park and Recreation Department for the Springdale Recreation Center's roof repair and to adopt the amended ordinance accordingly. Thank you. Any questions, thoughts?
Have any questions? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed, it's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carnes.
Okay, we're going to move on to item 8E, first reading of ordinance 2025-1969, an ordinance to correct the First Amendment to the Development Agreement and to approve a Second Amendment to the Development Agreement between Lancaster County and C4 Exchange Land Company, LLC, for a mixed-use townhome, multifamily apartment and non-residential development project known as the Exchange upon approximately 130 acres of land located at 8918 Charlotte Highway, Lancaster, South Carolina, establishing the regulations for the development of the property and other matters related thereto. Ms. Williams.
Mr. Chairman, can we get that motion first?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Good evening, Council. Tonight we have two items that are kind of combined into one ordinance. It was easier for the documentation to do it in an amended ordinance instead of doing two separate documents. The first part is a little bit easier, and it is just to correct the name of the developer. In the first The original development agreement was signed under with Crossland Southeast as the developer. Since then, they had a subsequent transfer of rights in 2022. We, for some reason, didn't have that document on our desk when we drafted the ordinance, and we put the original developer in there. So the first part of this ordinance is merely to put in C4 Exchange Land Company into where Crossland was, because they are the actual developers at that point based on that duly noted transfer of rights. There are no other material changes to the First Amendment other than we replaced that name in every place that it was. The second part is a second amendment to the development agreement, and the developers are actually coming to ask for less at this point. Last time they asked for an increase in the commercial space, and this time they're asking for a reduction of density in the residential portion of the development. The same things that we discussed in the last amendment apply here. The moderate modification is needed. It is a request to reduce the density of the apartment homes and add townhomes instead. So the biggest condition, the biggest criteria for this is changes in market conditions. And even in the short time that this development has been signed and executed, the market conditions have changed. The appetite for funding sources for many apartment homes is no longer there, and it's more difficult to do that, and that changing of market conditions makes it harder. Another thing that the townhomes that they're looking into changing the buildings for also backs up to the other townhome portion, and it would just be prettier if they put them back there. But I will let Mr. Dunaway speak more to those specifics. I would like to go into the modification. As we mentioned, they're asking for a reduction, and in the development schedule that I included in the staff report in your packet is there was a maximum amount of 720 lots total. They're not changing that total. They're just asking for some flexibility in the density equation. So basically what Mr. Dunaway and his group are asking for is for every 2 apartment units that they take away, they will replace it with 1 townhome unit. So the note that we had in the last amendment also takes effect into here as well, and that's why it has to be a moderate modification that comes to you for this cycle, because it specifically says that the property is limited to 400 multifamily units, which is the apartments, and 320 townhome units. If they start doing the change in density and eliminating some of those apartment buildings, it will go over the 320 townhome units, hence the modification request. I have included a letter of recommendation in your packet, and planning staff does recommend this for the following reason. It does lower the residential density, which everyone, I think, would be happy, because that's one of our favorite arguments is too much density, too much traffic. Again, as I mentioned, the market conditions are a little less favorably looking at multifamily homes at this moment, so it would make it easier for them to have a smooth transition and complete this project timely. And then the second amendment will correctly identify the developer as C4 Exchange Land, so it's able to knock out 2 things at one time. Mr. Dunaway is here for any questions, and I am also available if you have anything for me.
Any questions for Ms. Williams or Mr. Dunaway? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, it passes unanimously. Okay, we're going to move on to item 8F, a public hearing and first reading of ordinance 2025-1972, an ordinance to approve the request of Old Hickory Hill LLC to amend the future land use map contained in the Lancaster County, South Carolina Comprehensive Plan 2040, changing the future land use designation for their property located on Old Hickory Road from rural to growth. Planning Department case number is CP-2024-0367. The Planning Commission recommended denial by unanimous vote, and the planning staff did not have a recommendation. We have a public hearing scheduled, but
You would hold
due to
that.
the request
Yes.
by the developer, will not hold the public hearing. We will ask for a motion to grant a continuance to the July meeting.
Mr. Chairman, it would be a motion to postpone until the July, I believe, 21st meeting. I think that's your meeting in July. I believe that's what the request was during the public comment.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion from Mr. Graham, a second from Mr. McGriff. Do we have any comments? If not, we'll move to the vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed, it's unanimous. Okay, we're going to go on to item 8G, first reading of ordinance 2025-1971. An ordinance to appropriate funds and approve a detailed budget for Lancaster County for the fiscal year beginning July the 1st, 2025, and ending June the 30th, 2026. That's our fiscal year 2025-2026. To set millage rates for the levy of an ad valorem taxes, to approve a schedule of taxes, fees and charges for the fiscal year 2025-26 budget, and to provide for matters related thereto. Do you have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Mr. McGriff, a second from Mr. Neal. Ms. Harris.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, council members. Thank you again for the opportunity to bring back to you the discussion of the budget. As you know, we've had discussion on this topic multiple times. We've had the county administrator's recommended budget that was formally presented back on May the 7th. And we had a follow-up discussion on the 14th to incorporate things that were of interest to county, additional items that were incorporated into the budget request to specific line items. And we've prepared a modified version of that budget that factored in council's changes. And so tonight we'll formally present the first reading of the budget request for fiscal year 2026. It includes a no millage increase. It expands support for certain county services, investments in our workforce, and it upgrades 27 positions and adds 42 new positions overall. All right, so to begin, I'll walk us through slides that will summarize the key areas of the budget and focus primarily on those items that are revisions since the last time that we discussed this. All right, so with that, I'll begin here. All right, so our budget goals, the recommendation is developed in alignment with the county's strategic plan and also the council member goals that have been shared. We work to maintain the county's fiscal health, providing competitive compensation for our staff and addressing benefit increases, providing needed technology and covering needs for our facilities, also addressing growth. This budget also looks forward to plan for future needs and to continue to deliver a high level of services across all departments. All right, so some of the major factors included in the operating budget, we have looked at our projections for our revenue and focused primarily on what we call the top 6. These are major revenue funding sources. There's $8 million in new revenue that we've looked at programming for next year. In that, we've incorporated a 5% across the board increase for full-time and part-time staff. We've looked at new operating requests specifically for technology for our enterprise resource planning or ERP. We've adjusted new positions, also salary adjustments that include our health insurance that is proposed to increase by approximately 4.6%. Last time we were together, we talked about whether that would impact both the employer and the employee portion. And so we have received notice that it should only affect the employee portion of that increase. Even though that decision hasn't been finalized, we've incorporated only in the budget just to cover the employee portion of the premium, and it's effective January 1st of 2026. We've also included in the request pay adjustments for some existing positions to include those that council showed interest in last time, and also looking at the potential for pay for performance incentive for including one floating holiday, and this in alignment with the current appraisal tool. There's no budgetary impact there, but the goal of that would be as we continue to develop the appraisal tool for staff that score 2.5 or higher on their evaluations would be eligible to gain a floating holiday to use at their leisure. All right, so starting with the position adjustments, these are several that we've seen before, and so I won't labor us by going through every single one of them again, but you'll see the department and the specific position and the amount that's listed in the final column. It does include the benefits associated with that position adjustment. And so I'll just advance us down to the bottom with the first one that's different since the last time we were together. It's including a career ladder adjustment for 6 staff in the coroner's department. And so in these 6 staff, the justification there was that the 6 staff are doing duties above their regular assignment. In addition to that, have received multiple industry certifications. The next adjustment since last time is with the county council department, an upgrade to the clerk of council position. We did not have last time the position adjustments for the increase to the minimum listed here, but we included it here along with the position adjustments just to show the comparison to the portion of the budget that is listed just for increasing the minimum pay to $15 an hour, and also to adjust the compression that's a direct result of increasing to the $15 minimum. We would look at anyone who, after that increase, their salary or their hourly pay was between $15.50 and $18 to address the compression. There's an additional 3% increase layered in there. So in total, just for position adjustments to include those increases to minimum pay and the compression, it's an increase over the current year's budget of $951,999. All right, looking at new positions. And again, these are those that have been included in the initial request in the administrator's recommended budget. And so advancing us down to the first change since last time is in the EMS department, adding an equipment officer. And you'll see a note for each of these changes where we've adjusted to only include funding to cover them to start on or after January 1st of 2026. And again, these amounts include any fringe benefits on top of the salary and also any non-personnel costs. So the adjustments here for these that would begin at half year, the salary and benefits can be adjusted to half year, but any of the non-personnel costs, cell phones, desktops, any type of equipment, including if there's a vehicle that goes with it, the full price for those items is included. Okay.
Before you go too far, I need you to back up one screen.
Oops. Here?
Right there, yes. The fire rescue, one captain, $161,000. What is that?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
That captain, one captain?
Yes, sir.
For $161,466. What does that include?
This is a part of the I'm going to say the wrong name, McDonald Green Fire Department adjustment to staff that fire department, that station. And so included in that, what I would call a package, is there's one captain. That's technically the only new position that's included in that. There's also 2 firefighter engineers that are being upgraded to captain, and there are 2 firefighter ones that are being upgraded to engineers. There's also 1 current engineer that dollars for additional overtime is included for that person as well. Overtime and travel, I believe, is included for that position as well. So this piece here is only for the captain, for the salary and benefits, and the non-personnel costs that go along with just the captain. And if I back us up a few slides, I'll back us up so you can see what this is associated with in the position adjustments. Those first 2 items here.
I understand that part of it. It's just $161,000. That's not all just salary. Is that a vehicle in there, Darren, or what?
It's not a vehicle, but it's all the other costs that go with that.
Okay.
Completely new employee, you got to get outfitted with everything.
I got you. Clothing, the whole, I got you. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, I'm going the wrong direction. Okay, any other questions here about the captain or any other positions listed here? Okay. All right, in addition to the equipment officer in EMS, there's positions to staff the new station, 3 EMTs along with 3 paramedics, and the both of those as well to begin on or after January 1st, and the goal there would be that on one vehicle there would be 1 EMT, 1 paramedic. All right, in the Parks and Rec Department, the 1 adaptive sports coordinator, and finally the solid waste positions. These are actually 12 part-time positions that would begin on or after January the 1st as well. Initially, when we calculated the estimated cost for those, it was for the full year, but it was also at a lower hourly rate. So this is a recalculation for half year and to begin them at what we're proposing is the new minimum, the $15 per hour. All right. So in total for these 42 positions, you'll see just over $3.5 million for those. All right, so looking at our external agencies who have requested funding from the county. And so only adjustment here since last time we met was with the contract with the Town of Kershaw Fire Services. And so we looked at the actual contract, which includes 3 positions, as well as dollars for part-time and non-personnel costs. And so there's a 50-50 split proposed to cover the positions. And so the cost for the county to cover the 50% of the positions, but also some additional costs that the $67,515 to cover the cost for those positions across both departments, and again to include the non-personnel costs. Total amount for the county portion is the $194,578. So in total in external agencies, just over $2.5 million requested.
For the YMCA, just to clarify, that's year 2 of 3.
That is
right?
correct.
Okay.
Yes. All right, looking at our unassigned fund balance, and this is just a snapshot, not finalized for the current year, but just looking at if we were to walk forward from our audited fund balance of the $55,467,741 and up to now the amendments that have been done by council. If we back those out and we estimate where we would land at year end with the fund balance for just the current year, if we add that back in, we would estimate that we would land at the end of the year in fund balance just over $54 million. And what we do when we estimate the closeout cost is we look at where we stand with our expenses and our revenue collections, and we try to project as best we can where we might fall, taking into account all of the salaries that we would pay through the end of the year, any dollars that are will be assigned as a part of encumbrances, and trying to estimate any outstanding invoices that we have not paid to try to land as close as we can to what we will have left over at the end of the year. And this amount, that the council adjustment amount, if you were to approve this amendment that Ms. Proboznak just came forward, it would change that amount as well. Okay. All right, so looking at the proposed fund balance appropriations for next fiscal year, and again, highlighting those items that are different from last time, we added to the list for the assessor's office, dollars to cover his postage printing and other fees related to sending reassessment notices. In the Sheriff's Department, we initially had 5 flock cameras in the fund balance appropriation. The last time we added an additional 30. So to cover the cost of the camera, the installation, and ongoing maintenance, we've included the dollars here. Well, actually, the dollars here just to cover the cost of the camera and installation for an additional 30.
I think person that those flock cameras is the way to go for us. The sheriff, is it told us about them and solved cases. And I was watching 20/20 or 60 Minutes or something the other night, and they solved a big case with plot cameras. And I said that's a coincidence, that we're upgrading him. That's really helped the Sheriff's Department out. So.
Yeah, thank you. I believe they all agreed. All right, and the final adjustment here was adding dollars to be able to conduct a comprehensive P-card audit. The P-card program has been in place for a little over 10 years at this point. We have just over 135 P-cards distributed, and a formal audit has never been done. So we've done some internally, being able to review in some places. And also, all of the transactions that do go through the process, they're looked at individually, but this will be an external agency coming in to look at how we measure against the policies that we have in place and to be able to give us some feedback to improve the program.
I think that audit should be, council should have the final say on who the audit firm is that's chosen.
Yes, sir.
Idea.
Ms. Harris?
Yes.
I also just want to point out for council that there's also the employee satisfaction survey that was requested.
All right, thank you. All right, so if we just pull out of the request those items that were changes as requested by council since last time, we started with a couple of things that were on the list that we actually adjusted the amount down to include the request that was there for the sheriff and animal shelter collaboration, bringing that down to the actual cost. The amount on one of the slides was correct, but just to make sure that we accounted for that here in dollars that, would change the bottom line amount, we've included that here. Also, the adjustment for salary increase in the sheriff's department, we adjusted that down from $20,000 to $15,000, and so the difference between the two in benefits brought that down by $5,200 and change. And then the adjustment that was made for McDonald Green Station, the initial request was for the full year, and so adjusting that down by half the year brought that down $158,116.
So is the adjustment to 15,000 or 16,000?
Oh, it's to 16. I'm sorry. Yes, correct. To 16,000 plus benefits. All right, and so the highlighted items, again, are the ones that are new since the last time the coroner's adjustment had already been there. And so if we're bringing in, I'm going to jump us ahead just a little bit, but just summarizing all of the council requests here. In total, just those adjustments since last time are $630,155. And so where we started, just looking at the new revenue, and again, only focusing on those top 6 primary revenue sources, we started with the new revenue of just over $8 million in the administrator's recommended budget. We had programmed $6.9 million and change. That left us the last time with just over $1 million. And so with the council changes, that $630,155, there's still $434,713 that's left unprogrammed. It's available to appropriate if you choose.
Can I make a comment at this time?
Yes, sir.
The 12 years that I've been on here, this is I believe the new revenue's there, but we've always been very conservative. In just a warning for next year, it could be a lot tighter budget if our projections aren't there. So, I think last year we projected $3 million new revenue. It wasn't near the $8 million. So, just I'm a little concerned because next year we got the prison coming on and a few other things that we're going to have to fund. So just let the departments be aware that it may be a tighter budget next year.
I am going to echo that. I I'm very concerned about where the budgets are going to be next year with the increases that we're doing, because we're budgeting, and I think we've talked, some of these are half-year budgets that we're budgeting right now. Next year will be full years. I think there's going to be additional staff that's going to be required for the sheriff's facilities. I am concerned still. I know I've said it multiple times about the wage compression. I know we're addressing it from the first level to the second level, but that goes all the way to the top. And what I want to hear, a commitment, maybe not from today, but for the next reading, is there's not going to be a request next year to make adjustments due to a wage compression issue. Because my question is going to be, who is responsible for what we expected this year, and how do we hold them accountable if there is a wage compression issue next year? And there's got to be some great accountability held for that, because I have asked that question multiple times. There should not be a surprise next year. And then finally, I just want to confirm a couple of things. Does the floating holiday help if people can't take the vacation? Is that something, you know, that they can take with them, or do they get paid for it if they don't use it that year? What happens if they aren't able to use that floating holiday?
Yeah, that is something that has come up in discussion, and I can tell you it hasn't been finalized, so we're just trying to find a way that we can incentivize staff as a part of aligning it with the appraisal tool. So that's just one avenue. Conversation before started with the merit increases, and so this is really just another option that we're looking at, but it hasn't been fleshed out.
So will it be fleshed out by the third reading? Is there going to be a financial impact if we grant these additional floating holidays and then people can't use them and they have to get paid out, or what happens?
I think that's
That
the
I can't
council
answer the
decision. I think that's the council's decision, and if you don't use them and you leave, you don't get paid. I think that's my impression. So I think that needs to be a council recommendation.
Council, the floating holiday is a little bit different because they can take it at any time as opposed to an annual leave. So it was just a way to look at retention and how to heighten performance. So we can certainly come back with some more formalized guidelines and give you all options.
Yep. What I'm talking about is like if there are folks that aren't able to take the floating holiday, so they're excelling at their role, but they're understaffed, and the expectations are you can't take holidays. They might not even be able to take their current holidays, and it just doesn't feel fair to those folks.
I don't think you should be able to cash it out. If you leave the county, you can take your annual leave and get paid for your annual leave, not sick leave, right?
That's
Yeah, I'm not talking about if they're leaving.
No, I'm saying that I guess me and you talk about two different things. I'm saying if a person leaves, they can't cash it in. It don't go with them.
Yeah, no, and I understand that. I'm talking about people that are in the county, they're still here, they just aren't able to utilize the holiday because they're understaffed.
I guess that's it. That is at the employee's discretion to whether they want to use it.
Really in 365 days, they
I mean,
can one day
yeah.
there to save up.
But it's not just the one day. I guess we'd like to know, or I'd like to know, how many people are not able to use their holiday, or how many holidays go unused.
We will come back. We'll come back with it a little bit more refined. And I know what you're saying, because there are folks that have been here for a long time that wind up donating back hours, and you just don't want to see that happen. So we'll come back and look at how many instances, but that's really just, I think doing a better job of making sure that our managers and directors, if possible, can give people time off, because we really don't want people not able to actually restore themselves.
Yeah, to use the benefit that we're giving them, especially if this is a reward for exceeding in their roles.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. And then when you talk, just to clarify for the public, when you talk about a 2.5, that's really half more. That's out of a 3 scale.
That's out of
right?
a 3 scale, correct.
Yeah, it's like over 75%. So, because I think there's a lot of scales that people talk about, and they may be hearing 2.5, and they might be thinking, well, that's not great. but that is well above good. Yes. And then for just confirmation on the career ladder for the coroner, is the coroner comfortable? Was that something that we've confirmed that that aspect works for the coroner and what the coroner had in mind for the career ladder?
Yes, I believe the coroner is here, but
The career ladder, as it's listed there, is not, it's the correct amount and it's the correct amount of employees, but that's not the way it's going to be divvied. I actually sent a correction in on that a couple of months ago. Not sure how it got back in the way it is, but it's not an even amount.
Okay.
It's according to what they have accrued, their tenure. So it's a variable among employees.
The total amount is correct. It's how it's being allocated is going to be
Correct.
different. You'll
Yes,
manage that. Okay.
that's at my discretion based on what they've achieved.
I just wanted to make sure, because I know we had discussed the career ladder, so I wanted to make sure that we covered it.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. And last thing, is there, and I'll ask that later. I'll pause and defer till later.
Something to look forward to, huh?
I want to know the answer before I ask the question, or at least be more educated about it.
I did want to make sure that we were clear on the request for the information about the addressing compression, because I know this, what I would consider a first phase of trying to tackle it. I mean, it's not even close to addressing compression, and so it was really an attempt to at least start to address the compression. So my understanding is that there was a salary study done several years back, and each year after that, the salary schedule has been shifted upward, by cost of living or inflation, but actual salaries have not done the same thing, and so the salary schedule has really outpaced the staff schedule, the staff salaries. And so in order for us to be able to address it, I can tell you the 3% is not even close.
Okay. And so I guess my question is, we need to be very careful on how we're doing that increase, because we're moving up a lot in that first tier, and that's going to create a lot of pressure in that next level. We're making some adjustments to that, but it's going to create some additional pressures, and I don't want folks to start feeling like we're not compensating them appropriately, and they're seeing people that are reporting to them that are possibly making more, and you're going to create greater problems by trying to fix it in a phased approach when it may take one giant lump that's going to hurt, but will leave everyone feeling more satisfied.
And I think what we can do is we can prepare to look at the different scenarios to see if we were to shift everybody by the appropriate amount based on where we're trying to take the minimum, what is the true number?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Councilmember Louise, I don't want to misspeak, but in this day and age, having employees making $12, $13 an hour, trying to actually attract talent to work at our convenience centers. So I think that the attempt was to try to actually have a basic minimum livable wage. And I do understand, but I think that was the first phase of trying to actually put ourselves in position where we can actually hire folks.
I understand that. I just think we need to be very cautious, because we may be creating a greater problem further down the road, and council is going to have to address that.
Yes, sir.
Well, we may have to look at future when we give raises, maybe the across-the-board raise becomes a little smaller, and then you have a pot to help with that compression as you go through, maybe over a couple of year period.
Yep.
And when we did the salary study some years ago, our budget could not handle what we needed to do. And I guess we sort of piecemeal from there.
I think we punted it halfway through and then just went on. Do you have any additional presentation, Ms. Harris?
Yeah, just a few more slides. All right. And just to refresh us on where we stood with reassessment, we've gone through the reassessment process. We've gone through addressing the rollback of our millage to address reassessment. And so we had looked at last time, I just wanted to just kind of remind us on where we stood before we look at the millage history or the millage, the proposed millage rate for next year's budget. All right, so we've looked at the reassessment. We've addressed where we can increase. We have an opportunity to increase if we so choose, with our not just our limitations, but also looking at our population, looking at our CPI inflation, looking at our millage bank. If we choose, we can reach back for 3 years of unused millage, and we can also increase beyond that with a 2/3 vote. I don't think we need to consider it as an option, but it is there for us if you choose. All right, and just looking at the actual calculation where we look at our prior year taxes levied, we've adjusted that for abatements and additions. We divide that by the reassessed values. That's also adjusted to back out anything that's new. And that gives us our millage rate. And so what the millage rate does essentially is, if we're looking at the image here in our current year versus next year, the current year millage, once we've adjusted it by that calculation and effectively rolled it back, it's generating the same amount of revenue with a lower millage. So the millage rate has gone down, the millage value has gone up. And just a quick snapshot of our millage history. The $599,976 is our certified mill value by our auditor's office for next year. And so here we have our adjusted millage rates for next year, and the highlighted items are those that are different. But you'll see compared to the current year going into next year, that number is lower. We've rolled back the millage rate using that calculation. But with the certified mill value being higher, it'll generate the effective amount of revenue that we intend to generate across not just the operating budget, but we've adjusted it for debt as well. And that's the only one that has actually gone up to address our interest and principal payments for next year. Capital improvement budget, the millage has gone down. Courthouse security remains the same, but in all, our millage is down by 12.3 from the current year, with a total millage of 92.6 going into next year. And again, that certified mill value of the $599,976. All right, so I will turn us over to our budget director, Ms. Proboznak, to walk us through our minor funds and special funds.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. Regarding the minor funds, your restricted special revenue, these are tables you should be familiar with from prior presentations. You have each minor fund listed, alphabetized there. The current budget is in the second column. What we're proposing for first reading is that third column and the notes. And similar to how Ms. Harris presented, what's in yellow are updates from prior discussions and council direction. So you can see with those millage rates after doing the rollback calculation, your capital improvement or replacement fund is the 5 mills. Your court-mandated security, there is no millage increase. It's flat, 3.9, having done the rollback calculation. And then that debt service fund, again, these are your principal and interest payments on existing debt, and the auditor sets the millage rate, certifies the millage rate, and that's 7.20. No changes to the next series of minor funds. I'll let you digest for a moment. Finally, here's the total for that third column. 48.7 is the total for all your minor funds. This is also information that's in your annual budget ordinance as well, first or second page. And that is a decrease in spending from 76.2 to the 48.7. Minor funds, restricted revenue. Zooming in on the capital improvement fund or capital replacement fund, what lives in this fund are your rolling stock, your heavy equipment purchases, one-time purchases, particularly road maintenance and solid waste collections. And so we see here the sheriff's office is highlighted. If you recall, we had a one-time grant award to help us with replacing patrol vehicles, patrol officer, deputy sheriff vehicles last year. But this year we have Fund 11 as a revenue source, and then we have our unassigned fund balance that we could use to fund some of these vehicle replacements. So within the capital improvement fund or Fund 11 at $66,000 per car, you have 17 vehicles, replacement vehicles. And then we have 5 that will be used general fund unassigned fund balance for a total of 22 replacement vehicles for the sheriff in FY26. And then we have, we needed a home, as you know, for our hardware, computer hardware that is replaced on a 3 to 5 year schedule. And so that we are proposing the capital improvement fund for that, $250,000. Park and Recreation, they have no requests in the capital improvement fund for FY26, and that total there is 3.9. And then recall that the rollback millage, and of course you can change this, the millage, but the rollback millage is 5 here. Regarding debt service payments, this did not come up on the internet, but it is here on the slideshow. So you do have your debt service means paying principal and interest payments on existing debt for FY26. The auditor, again, sets this millage rate and also accounts for any cash balance that we may have at the end of the year, FY25. So that millage rate is 7.20, certified by the auditor. Again, you have principal and interest payments, plus you also have fees too, $10,000 in fees to the bank. 4.7 is the total. And the legal borrowing capacity that you have, you could borrow up to 43.9, and that's in the note on the slide before you have to go forward with a referendum if you want to borrow more. Debt service payments for FY26. Impact fees, we are asking council to appropriate impact fee revenue that we've collected for $343,000 for EMS and fire equipment and apparatus is the majority of the use of those funds. Next slide is Indian Land Consolidated Fire Service District. That highlight is a slight increase from when you last saw the slide. In particular, we got direction from council to put in the $45,000, that third bullet, contract services for the EMS partnership. So you have 7.9 here with a variance of $489,000 from the current year budget. Van Wyck Fire Service District. Here, what is key is this increase in the fee from 90 to 180, and of course the enabling ordinances will be changed. So if that does, if you adopt an annual fee schedule that has the 180, we would have Van Wyck come back with a revised budget as well. This is a summary. This is included in the ordinance. You see this table, it has each fund listed. And so the total for all the funds by fund is $160 million. That is a 7.1% increase from what you adopted originally in FY25. And then here we have the state accommodations tax. And the action item for you tonight is to designate, you can designate one or more agencies that have a tourism focus to receive the state accommodations tax money. That would be $57,000 right there, that third bullet point. So This year, in ordinance 2024-1930, you designated the Old English District. So this year, we're asking you again to make that designee. Your annual fee schedule, this is Exhibit A. It travels with your ordinance. Josiah Park presented this information to you. You have each fee listed, the owner of the fee, that department who assesses the fee. That current column means what is currently adopted in the fee schedule, and then the proposed column is what we're recommending. And so that could either be a change in the fee itself, it could be a text revision, and it could be a new fee. So the example of that new fee would be delinquent tax, bidder registration fee. You see that there's a dash, nothing's there. Ms. Jennifer Page is requesting that fee at $25 per bidder, is an example. Parks and Recreation also has new fees that it is adding to the fee schedule. And then finally, the Van Wyck, there at the bottom, last row, would be the change from 90 per unit to 180 per unit. And those are your changes to the fee schedule. And so without further ado, I will ask Ms. Harris to come back up to lead us in the actions and then to close the presentation. Thank you.
All right, so with all that we've heard tonight, we're asking that council take the budget request into consideration and to move to approve the recommended budget as presented, to approve the related millage rates, as well as the proposed fee changes. And so the vote of the first reading, we're asking for a vote of the first reading for tonight, but also as well to designate the tourism agency for the accommodations tax funding.
Mark DuPont, do we have a separate motion to designate that agency, or do we just name the agency and it becomes part of the?
You can do it however you like. You can do it as a part of this, or you can do it as a separate motion just to be included into the ordinance.
Okay.
I'm very interested in the chamber being that body, but I know they have a question about the use of those funds and how they're going to be used. So I think until we answer the question that they have regarding how those funds are used, we should hold off and make sure they're willing to be that party as well.
And you don't necessarily have to do that tonight. We just have to have it designated by the third reading. So you can hold off on that and give it a little more time.
Okay.
So we only have two agencies that qualify?
Currently, I believe yes, just those two. And you can designate to one or both. And the Old English District.
Old English Consortium.
I thought they had identified that there were others, potentially.
I don't
You have to be an agency that has wherewithal to be able to represent the whole county.
Yeah.
And to.
I'm just saying those are our choices. We have only.
We do currently. Now, if we have somebody else that comes up, we have till third reading to designate this.
There's some parameters around it as what state law lays out as to what they need to do, Councilmember Luis, so we can get more on that. If you want to hold making a determination on this, we can get some more on that so you know exactly, because there are some entities that can come forward that want to do some tourism-related things under the statute, but I'm just not sure where that lies in the county at this moment.
I would think the Chamber of Commerce would be by preference. They're active all over our community, and they're the Old English District. I can't tell you anything about them.
Between the Old English District and the Chamber.
The chamber's so well run; they're very organized.
I will go ahead and make a motion.
Well, the Old English District does promote Lancaster County throughout the state. If you stop at any rest area, they will have documents there or brochures in every rest area that they provide and all the rest areas that talks about things that you can do in Lancaster County.
Are they physically located here?
I think they're located in Chester.
Yeah, they're off at
Chester.
77.
I mean, I'm not saying we go for them, but I don't know.
I would
think
like
we
to
need
go
get
ahead
all
and
of
make a
our-
motion for the chamber.
Well, again, my concern is the chamber had concerns about how they could use those funds, and I think we need to make sure we answer that question before, because I don't know if they need to be comfortable with it as well.
Okay, I'll withdraw my motion.
I mean, as far as chamber goes, chamber is great at focusing on businesses, but this is talking about tourism and things. It's not.
Well, they did the ag art in Lancaster County too.
They have stepped their foot into that pool, so I think they're moving in the right
Could you
direction.
have the chamber and the Old English District in our next meeting if they have an interest in these funds?
And if we do, we can divide the funds the way we see fit, right?
Yes.
Okay.
We could split it.
Yeah.
Split it, yeah.
Do we have any other discussion? All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor to approve the budget for first reading. All those in favor, raise your right hand. It is unanimous. Thank you very much. For those, I just like to say, for those of you in the audience, some of you have sat through all these budget meetings, but if you've sat through past budget meetings, you know that they may be hours long. We have put those hours in, I can tell you, over the course of the last 3 or 4 months. And I have heard numerous feedback from people that this was one of the best budget processes that we have developed in years. So I want to thank staff, and yeah, you and Jose really did it.
Mr. Chairman, I would also like to thank Administrator Marstall and all our staff for all the budget work, and the sheriff, the coroner, and all our other elected officials. This has been a very smooth process this year.
I like to say, really, this has been and I've been here probably 16 years.
You grew up here, didn't you?
I grew up here, yeah. And anyway, it has flowed so smoothly. And me and Jose, we have not had a word, but just a good word to each other during this whole budget process.
There's still 2 readings.
Well, I'll speak on behalf of all of finance. We just appreciate that. We appreciate the collaboration. It's been, a lot of time and effort spent not just with us, but us partnering across multiple departments, folks making themselves available for several phone calls, meetings, multiple meetings about the same thing for us to help, get us an understanding of the departmental budgets and adjustments that we needed to make, and also the support of council, our administrator and deputy administrator. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Ms. Harris.
All right. I do want to wrap up just real quick. There's a couple of other budget considerations that we had included that we have not made any adjustment to the budget, but we do know that these are things that are coming. And so there's 3 projects that are in motion. The Burns building renovation that we've come back and discussed a couple of times about the upfit of the building. And so there's discussions about what direction that will go in. And so we know that we'll be coming back with the request related to the renovation of the Burns building, also the coroner's office expansion. There's still work being done around that. And we had talked about, because it's multi-funded between ARPA funding as well as a potential fund balance appropriation for that. And so the amount for what would potentially be covered by county funding hasn't been determined yet. And so there's still being work being done there. And then also the build out of the EMS stations. There's a question around whether that can be funded with capital project sales tax. And so we'll come back with more discussion around that. And then lastly, a potential proposal to revert back to our flat per diem rates versus using the GSA rates. And so we'll come back as well with a model for how to address that.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to now move on to item 9A, approval of the prioritized community needs list from the Catawba Regional Council of Governments. Ms. Simpson. Oh, okay. skipped over that last one. Sorry. I was so excited about the budget passing.
Me too, Mr. Carnes, me too. I forgot to come up.
Okay, before we go on then, we do have a public hearing scheduled. No one signed up for it, so we'll declare the public hearing closed. Do I have a motion to approve item 8H?
So moved.
Have a motion from Ms. McGriff,
Second.
a second from Mr. Harper. Okay, now we can go on.
Thank you, everyone. Good evening. Next item on the agenda is your 10-year CIP.
Mr. Chairman, I don't mean to interrupt, but we have a public hearing first that we need to handle first before she
I
presents.
think you already handled that.
Already handled that.
You did? I'm sorry. We missed it down here. Sorry.
All righty. Whoops. This is your first reading of your 10-year capital improvement plan, and of course, the public hearing was advertised. We have the affidavit on file, and I believe you have that in your as your attachments as well. So we'll start with an overview of the CIP. These are hyperlinks in those first two bullet points to the original documents, which live on the website. So in July of 2021, 10-year CIP was adopted. So that's your original, the 2021-17-26. And then last year, as part of the budget process, you amended that CIP with ordinance number 2024-1909, amended and adopted that accordingly. As a reminder, your CIP and where it lives with the strategic plan is under the infrastructure, strategic priority, and public safety. And so for this year, there are 25 updates to the CIP. You have some new projects and you have revisions to existing projects that you've already adopted to the tune of $22.5 million. Budget finance staff partnered with planning, Ms. April Williams, and staff, and brought this item forward to the Lancaster County Planning Commission. And so they conducted an exercise where they reviewed those new capital requests and revisions to, and they ranked those requests, and they are recommending this revision or amendment to the CIP. And then that last line, I don't know if you see it cut off, but it is a reminder, the CIP is a financial planning tool only. So when you do adopt this ordinance, it's just, you're not obligating yourself financially. That obligation comes with your annual budget ordinance. So the next table, series of tables, you will see each new capital project which was submitted by our colleagues, department directors, for the FY26 budget. So each department is listed. That CIP project is noted, the amount for FY26, and then any addition, the notes. And so the next, you'll see the overview here, Parks and Recreation. Now, I just want to point that the Springdale roof, that is stricken for our FY26 because you have your budget amendment for FY25. So the new capital projects, 1.2 million is the total, and again, as a reminder, that threshold. So if that project is $100,000 or greater in value, it is added to the CIP. It then lives on the CIP. And what is a capital project? It is construction of a building. It is improvements to a building or land. So those big ticket items that have very long lifespans. Revisions to what you've already approved in your CIP. Again, this could be an update in the amount. We've done our homework. We're bringing back a revised amount for you. It could be we need to move the start year in the CIP from this year to an outer year, specifically development services in that building. It's scheduled back in 2021. You scheduled it to start in 2026. We're not there, so we're asking you to move that out. So you could read that information about the project in the CIP revision column. There are those EMS stations with capital project sales tax $3. We want to move up the start date for 10 and 7, first two rows, because we believe we'll have that cash banked in the upcoming fiscal year. We're also, again, asking you to appropriate impact fee dollars that we've collected, specifically for apparatus or equipment. Indian Land Consolidated Fire Service District, if you recall, that's Station 3 construction and the engine that travels with it. Right now, we do not have a revenue source identified for the construction and the purchase of. Moving along, so for that, the body of projects that we're making revisions to that exist that you've already approved, the new total is 21.2. And that grand total, the new, the 1.2, plus the revisions, the 21.2, is a total of 22.5. And here's that overview for you. So for your capital budget for FY26, that first row, new projects, there are 9 of them that came through as part of the budget process to the tune, and you saw them listed, to the tune of 1.2. And the revenue sources, general fund mill, and one-time fund balance, it's an and or an or. Then the revisions to already approved projects, 16, to the tune of 21.5, with a variety of funding sources as listed there. And then finally, you have these projects, the difference, the 56, that you've currently adopted. We don't have changes to them, but we're still working on them. 29 million, variety of funding sources, particularly most of these are in your capital improvement fund. And so you have your exhibit included as an attachment in your handout, and you'll see under that column 2025, 2026, the 51 million total. And then it's essentially breaking down that column or to show you what's new, what's revised, what we're currently working on, 51.5 for 81 projects. The ranking exercise, this, again, what was new and what was revised was brought forward to the Lancaster County Planning Commission. And so the first 2 columns are the exercise that group conducted, and these are the top 5. And then Mr. Marstall did the same exercise with the new and the revisions and ranked as well, and his top 5. And so you can draw the lines with Indian Land Fire Station 3, the construction of, and the purchase of the engine are priorities for both groups. And then tonight's action. We are asking you to revise the currently adopted CIP, and that's your original, the 2021 document, and to adopt the CIP as amended. And then we'll come back in June for second and third readings. Questions, thoughts?
Any questions?
How we lost the formatting there, but.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have some blanks we have to fill in before we can? Okay.
No, ma'am.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Not. We'll take a vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed, it's unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, the clerk would like to know if this could go on the consent agenda at the next meeting.
Any objection?
Yeah, but it doesn't need to go on there.
Of course you knew I would. Arlene said we still had 2 more readings.
I said Jose was very nice tonight. That's what I said.
All right, thank you. Okay, now we're going to go on to discussion and action items. 9A, approval of the prioritized community needs list from the Catawba Regional Council of Governments. Ms. Simpson.
Yes, Mr. Chairman and council members. In order for the county to be eligible for community development block grant funding, one of the things we are required to do is hold a needs assessment public hearing, which council did on April 14th. During that meeting, council and staff discussed updating the prioritized community needs list. You should all have a copy of that at your seats. And the staff from the COG has updated the list to include Gay Street on number 5. Other items that you discussed were parks, public buildings, and fire trucks, but those are already on the list. So one of the other requirements in order to be eligible for CDBG grant funding is to adopt and approve this updated prioritized community needs list via motion.
So moved.
We have a motion from Mr. Luis, a second from Ms. McGriff. Do we have any discussion? Hearing no discussion, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed, it's unanimous. Okay, we'll move on to item 9B, receive information and take desired action regarding removals from various boards and commissions. Ms. Simpson.
Yes, Mr. Chairman and council members. The Catawba Workforce Development Board is made up and composed of several different categories: business leaders, local elected officials, workforce partners, and community-based organizations. In the past, the Workforce Development Board has used the Lancaster Housing Authority as one of those workforce partners or community-based organizations, and Veronica Williams heads that. However, she has not participated in the meetings, so they are asking that she be removed for absences.
We have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Ms. McGriff. Second from Mr. Luis. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. It's unanimous. Okay, item 9C, receive information and take desired action regarding appointments to various boards and commissions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So now that you have removed Veronica Williams, they are asking that another partner be chosen in regards to filling a seat on the Catawba Regional Workforce Development Board. And we are asking the Chamber of Commerce in Lancaster to fill that seat, and John McCain has agreed to do that. This would be for a 3-year term that would expire on 12/31/2027.
We have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second. Have a motion from Ms. McGriff, second Mr. Neal. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed, it's unanimous. Okay, secondly, we are asking for a reappointment to the Keep Lancaster County Beautiful Board. Ms. Tony Flynn in District 7, for District 7. There's no residency in the district required. This would be her second term, and it would expire on 6/30/2029. Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
I thought you had done the motion. Sorry. Motion. So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hands. It's unanimous.
Okay, and lastly tonight, we have 2 reappointments that we are asking for on the Planning Commission. One for Council District 1, Jason Paul Cavalier, and one for District 7, Francis Liu. Currently, these members are both serving unexpired terms, so this would be, if you reappoint them, their first full 4-year term, and that would expire on 6/30/2029.
All right, do we have a motion to approve?
Make that motion.
Motion from Mr. Graham. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. McGriff. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. It's unanimous. Okay. We'll be appointing a special committee that will be compromised by Mr. Harper and Mr. Luis and myself. We will be meeting with the voter registration board, Mr. Representative Newton, and our voter registration manager to talk about the criteria for the voter registration office move. So we'll have more information as that becomes available. That looks like we have conducted all of our business for the evening. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
A motion by Mr. Luis, a second from Mr. Harper. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. We stand adjourned.
You did a great